to A Year of Hitchcock Movies. We are your hosts, Jeff and Diane, and this is movie number 33 from 1953, I Confess. And tonight we get to see a film with Montgomery Clift in it, and Montgomery Clift is one of our favorite actors, so we're very excited. Montgomery Clift, a very interesting man, a fascinating acting career, and after a turn, a heartbreaking acting career. Very interesting stuff. But first, after the success of last week's Strangers on a Train, where Alfred Hitchcock received many accolades, one quote was that he was being called the master of the dark suspense thriller. So that was a good thing. He had the hit that he needed. But what he needed to now was to come up with another movie idea. And boy, during this time, he really struggled to come up with an idea. And you know, we've done 33 movies now. He's done a few more than those, just that we skipped some because they weren't available on Netflix DVDs. That's a lot of movies, you know, and you don't just magically come up with these ideas and the pressure's on because he wants to make good movies. He read numerous books and plays and biographies and short stories, and really couldn't come up with anything. And then Patricia, his daughter, she had been engaged, she decided to get married, and that distracted everybody for a while. She got married in January of 1952, and once that was all done, Alfred Hitchcock went back to worrying about the next film. So finally it was Alma coming to the rescue, and she brought up an idea that they had kicking around for years, a treatment that they had done based on a play called Our Two Consciences, written in 1902 by Paul Anthelm. They had thought about this in 1947. They had bought the rights to it and were thinking of making it a transatlantic picture, their own production company, and had thrown it around. Alfred Hitchcock actually saw a play, the production of a play for this play in 1930, so he'd always known about it, and so Alma brought it to him and said, let's do this. And at first he was skeptical, but he thought, yeah, this is a good idea. With Transatlantic Pictures dissolving, Warner Brothers ended up owning the rights to it with the hopes one day that he might turn it into a movie. And boy, you know, ultimately from the moment that they thought, Alfred and Alma thought that this could be turned into a movie until it was finally a movie, we're talking about 10 or 11 or 12 different writers all having a hand in the screenplay and the dialogue, and that's always a little worrisome. We've noticed that over the past 33 movies, that anytime there's a lot of writers going on, that's a bit of a red flag. And in this case, it's mostly because of the subject matter of the play and the subject matter of their early treatments. And basically, without giving anything away with the movie necessarily, it's about a priest who is standing trial for murder, who's being blackmailed, who may or may not have had a liaison with a married woman, who may or may not hang for his crimes, who does hang for his crimes, and possibly an illegitimate child. And these are all major taboos with the censors, with the Hays Production Code, that yes, in 1952 we're still dealing with that. Major problems. And Hitchcock really thought that he could handle the censors. He was going to get a big name, James Stewart or Cary Grant, and just deal with it. And we'll see how that turns out. So, well, Cary Grant and James Stewart aren't in this, but Montgomery Clift is. As mentioned, he plays the priest in this film, I Confess. Already a huge name, nominated for 2 Oscars for Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor. The one that was just recent was A Place in the Sun, where he acts with Elizabeth Taylor, and boy is that a good movie. That's a great, he's such a good actor. He was a member of the Actors Studio, you know, that TV show called Inside the Actors Studio. Well, this is where all the actors went to New York and studied the method. Now, the method has been incorrectly described as where an actor sort of stays in character the whole time, and even off camera is still in character. I can think of Mike Myers when he was being Austin Powers, baby. He would be Austin Powers off set. That's not this. That's not really what this is. It's more accurately described of when the actor is considering the character's psychological motives. He or she draws on their own experiences, their own emotions, that they had in their own lives to sort of do this. And sometimes if they have no experiences, they go get those experiences. and that's sort of what the method is. It's more complicated than that. It's beyond what I know, but you can read about it on Wikipedia, as I did a little bit recently, because it's very, very interesting. Some great examples of method actors are Marlon Brando, Dustin Hoffman, fantastic method actor, Robert De Niro, and Paul Newman, and of course Montgomery Clift. Now we'll see Paul Newman later in Torn Curtains, so we'll see if that's a thing. So, but anyways, the point is that how will Alfred Hitchcock deal with the method actor? Because it must be said that he really didn't take actors or acting very seriously. So we'll see how that all turns out. Also in this is Anne Baxter, and Anne Baxter had she's in a movie we mentioned I think last week called All About Eve. She plays Eve, and what a great performance! She's so good in that. She won a Best Supporting Actress Oscar for her role in the movie Razor's Edge with Tyrone Power that we mentioned before. She's so good in that. And you know, my whole life, she was Nefertiti in the Ten Commandments. I've seen the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston a billion times. She was the one who was in love with Charlton Heston, but married to Ramses, married to Yul Brynner, and that's her. That's Anne Baxter. So tonight she's Alfred Hitchcock's blonde in I Confess. So there you go. And Karl Malden is in it. He plays a detective in tonight's film. He won an Oscar recently for last week's 1951 in the year 1951 for Streetcar Named Desire. He was pretty good in that. He plays a detective in this one. He'll play a priest in the following years on the waterfront with Marlon Brando. See how it's all intertwined? The music tonight is done by Dmitri Tiomkin, who did the music in last week's Strangers on a Train, and he'll do the music in next week's Dial M for Murder, and then that's it. He does 4. He did Shadow of Doubt, so that's it for him. So look for the music tonight. He's one of the big guys, Dmitri Tiomkin. He does great music. The cinematographer, of course, for this movie is Robert Burks, because he was in last week's movie, and he's going to be our cinematographer for the next bunch of movies, all the way up to 1964's The Marnie, the movie Marnie, except for Psycho. He doesn't do the cinematography on Psycho. And speaking of the cinematography, you know, we have this film shot in black and white, beautiful black and white. This is going to be the last black and white movie for a little while, and in fact, of the 15 or so movies we have to go until we're done, there really only will be 2 more black and white movies, The Wrong Man with Henry Fonda and Psycho. So that's interesting. This is it for that. But shot beautifully in the city of Quebec City, particularly in Old Quebec, and the interiors were done a little bit back in Burbank in Warner Brothers Studios. Burbank, or where's Warner Brothers? Doesn't matter. I think it's Burbank. And boy, you know, Quebec City still looks like this today. It looks old, but in Old Quebec, it's a city within a city, and it's surrounded by these huge walls, and it's like you're in France. There's cobblestones and neat old shops. If you ever get a chance to go to Quebec City, it's delightful. So that's where tonight's movie is. So look for the fact that we want to do all these interesting things with the subject matter, and we have the Hays Production Code, the censors clamping down. So look for that. Also a cameo to look for, and I will say it's quick, so be on the lookout. It's immediate. So good. So let's watch this one. We're real excited. We love ourselves some Montgomery Clift from 1953, Alfred Hitchcock's I Confess. Let's watch.